Hello and welcome back to My Own Worst Enemy. We're up to turn number 7 now. It is 1942. The phase season marker is at the start of the new year. And the fact that it's 1942, there is a flag on 1942 and a 1. So the flag means that one influence marker will go into the US automatically for the West. So put that in. However, there will be no units added at level 1 because the West is not yet a satellite of the West. The US is not a satellite of the West yet, so those units will not come in. But remember, in fact, that if the West does convert the US to a satellite, that these units that are due to come in 1943 and 44, those still could occur if that should happen. Let me get the sequence of play card back out. So we've the victory check. No one is near victory yet. And we do need to hand out peace dividends. The only power that will receive peace dividends will be the West, since they are not at war currently. We will pull their peace dividend out, reach in here and grab one randomly. It is a 1. So let's see, let's flip it on the right side so we can read it. They now have 5 peace dividends, and their current production level is at 12, so they're at 17, not in any danger, I don't think, of an economic victory. So the next thing we're going to do is determine the turn order. So we left this on the Soviets last time, so let's move that, and I'll just roll the d6. It is a 1, so that's going to go down here to Germany. So the turn order will start with Germany and go in a counterclockwise fashion. And so that means Germany will start the production phase first. So we'll move this to the production phase. Get out my D20 here, and Germany is at war now. So all of 3 of these indicators, resources, industry, and population, they're all in play. So it's the lowest of those 3, and they are currently at 13 with their resources being the lowest number there. So let's go ahead and put a 13 out for them. And they are at war with the Soviet Union, so they're going to want to factor that in as they make their decisions here. So there are 2 ongoing battles. And I will point out that you cannot build in areas where there are ongoing battles. So that means no new cadres can go in, and you cannot advance a cadre level. So no building at all in those areas. They can build outside if they have home territory around those battles. They can build a new cadre there. They can also increase the level of a cadre that's outside the battle. So they'll have to keep that in mind as we go through production. And so that said, I think the focus here is going to be on the production of just that. They're going to be building up units primarily. They are at war, so they really don't have much choice in that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what they might want to build. Well, certainly with these 2 battles going on, they're going to want to reinforce those. So they're going to have to build units, and they will do that now, keeping in mind that new units must be placed in home areas. And for the Germans, that's anywhere there's a gray. For the Soviets, that's going to be anywhere there's this red. But I think right off, they're going to want to build a new cadre, a new unit. I'm going to reach over and grab a red infantry unit. That's going to go into here. And I'm going to put a blue token on that to show that it's a newly placed unit. So therefore, you can't build it up the same turn that you place it. I think I'm also going to place another infantry in there. Actually, no, I'm going to place a fighter in there, or air power, I should say. So I'm going to put that out. We'll put a blue marker on it. And I don't know why I'm putting out... I don't know why I'm putting out Soviet markers. They ought to be German. I think I just reached over and grabbed the first cadre that I saw. So let's make sure we put out the right units. So again, that was an infantry unit and an air unit. They come in at size 1, and they come in, I'll put the blue token on them to show that they cannot be built up. So that's 2 that we're down to 11 now. I think they're going to also place an armor unit in there. We're going to place an armor unit in there as well. That's now, we're down to 10. So we'll put a blue marker on that. They're going to build up this armor unit to a 4. And we're going to put, so now we're down to 9. And of course, that cannot be built up again this turn. So we'll put a blue marker on it as well. I'm going to bring this one up to 3. We are now down to 8. And I've got to be careful. You want to keep enough points left so that you can buy action cards, especially if you're at war, because you want to be able to conduct action. If you want to, I think it's a good idea too, that we are at war. So got to consider that as we continue to build up. I think I'm also going to build 2 more units. Let's go ahead and take this down to 6. I'm going to build another armored unit, and we will put it here. I want to build another infantry unit, and we will put it down here. That's an infantry unit here and an army unit here. We are down to 6 now, so I'm going to take 4, 2, 3, 4. Do I want to take another one? Trying to think. Now, there are investment cards. I'm just trying to think if it makes sense to purchase an investment card here. I think they're going to pick, since they only have 6 points left, I think they're going to pick all. No, I think I'm going to pick one investment card. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 action cards. And then one left, we'll let them pick one investment card, and that will do it for production for Germany. And then we will go now to the Soviets. We'll put the current turn marker with the Soviets, and they're going to get, again, they are at war, so it's the lowest of the 3 now, so they're at 12. No, I'm sorry, they're at 13 with their industry. So they will get 13 production points to spend. They're in the same boat as the Germans. They are at war. And let's go ahead and get these blue markers off because we will need those again for the Soviets as they place units. Being careful to keep our markers, our cadres rather, pointed in the right direction. And right off, they're going to spend 3, so this will take this down to 10. And they're going to upgrade each of these cadres. So this will go to a 3, this will go to a 3, this will go to a 2. Place 3 blocks on that to show no more upgrading. We're down to 10. They will upgrade this infantry unit to 3. Now at 9. They're going to upgrade this armor to 3. And now we are down to 8. All 4 of these units are in battle, so they cannot be upgraded. They are going to upgrade this air unit to 2. Now we're down to 7. And they're going to buy 5 action cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to buy 5 action cards and 2 investment cards. So 1, 2. And that's going to do it for their production. So let's get these blue blocks off. All right, so the turn marker will now go to the West. The West will get, they are at peace still, so their resource marker does not come into play. It's going to be the lowest of population or industry. Industry sits at 12, so they're going to get 12 build points. Now, the West is sitting here looking at this. I think right now what the West is doing, they're just waiting. They want the Germans and the Russians to tear each other apart, so that they're not really planning on an attack this turn. They're going to concentrate again on trying to get the United States to become a satellite, because that would give them the extra units that they're going to desperately need, I've got a feeling. If they make it that long, it may be the West never enters this war, but we'll see. But they definitely want to try to get the U.S. on their side. So we're going to go ahead and just spend 6 of these points right off. 6 points for 6 action cards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And remember, they're hoping they get U.S. diplomacy cards. They're going to buy, I think, 4 investment cards. That's going to take them down to 2. If I can find the 2 on the D20, there's the 2. So they're going to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just because they're going to spend those last 2 points to build up this infantry to 3 and this infantry to 3, with the hopes that the Germans won't pull anything this turn, and that will be production now for the West. The end of production for the West. So the current turn marker comes back now to the Germans, and we go into the government phase. So we will move our season marker up, and we will start with the card playing now. I'll grab the German cards. And as always, I will sort out the action cards from the investment cards just to make it easier to go through. And they only have 2 investment cards. We're going to start with the investment cards. And I'm not sure that, let's see if they can even do anything. Well, actually, it looks like they can. So this is interesting. It's probably timely, too, considering they're at war. So they have the 1938 science card, which says that this card can be paired with any tech listed below to achieve that tech. Well, they happen to also have air defense radar. So that's going to come in handy considering they're at war. So they're going to put this card down in the discard pile, and now they have air defense radar for their technology. And now we will get the Russian cards. So I knocked their peace dividends over. All right, the German cards back for now. Let me sort out the investment cards. Quite a few cards in the Russians' hand here. All right, so let's take a look at their investment cards. We are in 1942, so they do have a 1942 science card that they could play. And I don't think LSTs are going to do them any good here. They already have heavy bombers. Atomic Research 4 does them no good. And they have an interesting card. So here's one. This one is called Agent. Inspect a rival's blocks in any one area. So that's if you're playing this game with the hidden block information. So we are playing solo with no hidden information. So again, I'm going to call the interpretation of this card will tell me, or the way I'm going to play it is they can take any of the rival's blocks and reduce them by 1 step. So that's how we're going to interpret that. So it is going to have some impact, should they choose to play it. And I'm not sure they're going to play it yet. Now, I will stick with the terminology here. So it says inspect a rival's blocks, but so the only rival right now for Germany is the West because they are not at war. They are enemies with the Soviet Union. So they can do this to the West. They're going to do this. They're going to reduce a West block by, I think it said 1, right? Yeah, that's what I'm going to say, 1 in any area. So they're going to reduce this size 3 infantry to a size 2. So that is that, and that was there. And I said Germany, it's Russia. So Russia is doing that to the West. So put the Russian cards back. Now we go to the West. Grab the West cards, and they've got a pretty good stack now. Okay, so we'll start with the investment cards first. Now they also have this code break card in their hand, and I've played this before, and basically what that's going to mean is they're going to be able to just randomly draw a card out of one of the rival's hands, and that rival will not be able to play that card for the remainder of this turn. Another thing I think I just said in the last step for the Soviets, I said that they couldn't flip any of the German units or subtract 1 off the German units for this agent card where I was going to take 1 CV off. I said they were enemies, but you can be a rival enemy. So they could have used that against Germany if they had wanted to. So I did take it off the one in France, though I'm going to leave it that way. So they are going to play, the West is going to play this code break card, and they are going to choose the Germans. And they're going to choose a random card from the German hand, and the Germans will not be able to play this card for the remainder of this turn. So let's just grab this one. So the Germans will not be able to play a Spring Command card or the Enemy Ties card. So that's just going to go. We'll set that off to the side. And that was the West, and we'll put their cards back down. Come back to Germany now. And I will pick up their cards, except for the one I just put down, which they cannot use now. And the only thing they have left now are diplomacy cards. So we can go ahead and start playing their diplomatic actions. Keeping in mind, they really need to hold on to some cards for military activity. And so they're going to play a Portugal card. So we'll put that down over here. Put the cards back. Go back now to the Soviets, who still have investment cards. Do they want to play any investment cards? Now, should note that it should be cheaper now for the Soviets to increase their industry, I believe. Let's see, declaration of war -2 to industrial cost. Yeah, so it's only 4 now to build up their industry. And I think they might want to do just that. But let's see to make sure they have nothing good they may want to hold on to here. And I think they do have something good here. So what they're going to play, it is 1942 still, so 1942 card. Again, and Precision Bomb Sight is one of the things in their hands. They're going to play this to get Precision Bomb Sight. They'll play that, and this is going to give them, let me put this over here so that I can see it. That's going to give them Precision Bomb Sight. Now we will go back to the West. We'll grab their cards again. And they are going to play 2 of these investment cards to build up their industry 1 level. So let's do that. That'll take their industry up to 13. All right, we'll put their cards back down and come back to the Germans. Germans, what will the Germans do? The Germans are going to play this Fear and Loathing card. That will allow them to remove an influence marker from the US, which they definitely want to do. So the discard pile will be here. We'll go ahead and do that now. And that is the Germans' play. Now we're going to go back to the Soviets. Got to remember to move my current turn marker. I keep forgetting to do that. And now I think that the Soviets want to spend 7 industry points to build up their industry. Well, wait a second here. We have a 4. So didn't I just say it was at 4? So their normal cost is 7 minus 2 is 5. No, they got to spend both of these. So we will do that to increase their industry to 14. And put their cards back and go back now to the West, who is going to do what? They are done spending investment cards, but they are going to play, they're going to play this agent card, which again will let them take any one of their rivals' blocks and reduce it by 1. That's how I'm interpreting this. So they are going to reduce this German block by 1. So this is German, size 4 German infantry. They're going to take that down to 3. And that is their card play. Now we go back to the Germans. The Germans are going to pass. We're going to go back to the Soviets. And they are going to play this Latin America diplomatic card. So I'll put that with the Portugal card. If I pick the right power, we'll put it with the Portugal card. We don't put it with the Portugal card. This is the Soviets. The Soviets are playing a Latin America card. So we're going to put that over here. Where will we put this so that I can just put it up here on the, let's get this out of the way. We'll just put it here. So that was the Soviet card play. Now we're going to go back to the West. The West does not want to play any more investment cards. I'm just going to put those down off to the side. And let's see what they do want to play. They are going to play, surprisingly, the USA card, hoping they can get the United States on their side. So I'm going to put that off to the side. Put their cards back, come back now to Germany. Germany is going to pass. So in fact, Germany, I think, is going to pass for the remainder of this phase. So we're going to go now to the Soviets. Soviets are going to play a Low Countries card. We'll put that over there. Put their cards back to the West. The West is going to play a Low Countries card. We'll just go back to the Soviets because the Germans are going to pass for the remainder of this round. The USSR is going to play a Bulgaria card. All right, and then we'll go back to the West. West is going to play a Yugoslavia card. Come back to Germany. Pass. Back to the Soviets. And they are going to play a Spain card. And back to the West. The West will play an Afghanistan card. Back to the Soviets because the Germans are going to pass. And actually the Soviets are going to pass. Back to the West. So at this point, it's just the West are going to play the remainder of the cards they want to because the Germans and the Soviets will pass. The West will play yet one more Afghanistan card, and they are going to hold these other cards. They're going to pass. So that's going to end that part of the government phase anyway. So let's put their cards back. Put this card that was pulled from the Germans' hand back into their card hand. The Soviet cards are okay. And now we will resolve diplomacy. We'll start with the Germans. They have one Portugal card. So that will add a, well, what it will do is take away a marker in Portugal for the Soviets. So that goes out. Discard. And then now let's go to the Soviets and see what diplomacy cards they have. So there is a Spain card they played. I don't see the West countering that. So that's going to add another Soviet influence marker into Spain. The next one is a Bulgaria card. So that will remove this German influence marker from Bulgaria. a Low Countries card. So that's going to move a German influence marker from the Low Countries. Sure to make them happy. And then a Latin America card, that's going to remove a German influence marker from Latin America. A big diplomatic push by the Soviets to get the German influence out of certain areas. Now we're going to go to the West. I have 2 Afghanistan cards. Well, that's going to, I believe, flip Afghanistan to a satellite of the West. Kabul has a muster value of 1, so I believe that's going to give them, let's see, so it became a satellite, and a satellite with 3 or more. It says the satellite is controlled by that faction. Control marker is placed. Place units of that faction's great power type in its minor cities and towns according to their muster value. So here it was a muster value of 1 for Kabul, so it's going to mean that a 1 CV unit in town, so they're going to get 1 unit that the West chooses will go into that town. They're going to choose an infantry unit to go into Afghanistan, so that goes in at level 1. And there were no resources, and the population will not change for a town. So yeah, that's going to be, all they get is that 1 unit there. So that was their Afghanistan cards they played. Let's put those in the discard pile. They have a Yugoslavia card, so that's going to remove a German marker from Yugoslavia. So the Germans are getting crushed through diplomacy now. Crushed might be a strong term. They're going to play this Low Countries card, which will now add Western influence into the Low Countries. And finally, they have the USA card. They will play that and put a influence marker into the US, not as many as they would have liked to have had, unfortunately. And that resolves all the diplomacy. The last thing to do is check our hand size for each power. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for the West, they're okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4 for Germany, they're certainly okay. And then the Soviet Union, 1, 2, 3 for the Soviets, so they're okay. And now that will take us out of the government phase and into spring, where we will start doing our commands. So start with Germany. Where's the current turn marker is here, so we'll put it with Germany. Does Germany want to play a spring command card? And so the Germans, I think, probably definitely want to play a card here, so they're going to put out a spring card. And then we will go to the Soviets. And the Soviets also want to play a spring card. No surprise there. And we go now to the West. In the West, do they want to play a spring card? Let's see. West is going to play a spring card as well. So everybody's going to play a spring card. We'll start with whoever has the lowest number. It's the Soviets with the E. So they will get to go first in this round. So yeah, they will go first because they have the earliest command priority. Remember, that's the letter on the card. And we move before combat, so they can move 5 units now before we resolve combat. So what 5 units do they want to move? And I've noted that we have 2 ongoing battles here, so that they can activate those when we get to the combat round, if they choose to do so. So who do they want to move? And let me get a counter out just to tick off their movements. They've got 5. They're going to move, this size 3 infantry is going to move into here. Take us down to 4. They're going to move the size 2 infantry into there as well. Let's make sure our border limits are respected. So this forest only allows 2 units, so we're okay there. And actually, yeah, this one is okay. It can pass anyway, really, because there's no forest along the border here. So they're okay to do this. That's going to take us down to 3. They are going to bring in the air unit as well. 2. And do they want to cross the mountains into Hungary? So looking, they could bring in, mountains will only let 1 go. And remember, it's 1 if you engage, and we would be engaging there, so only 1 would get to go forward. I don't think we want to do that. But I think what we do want to do is move this armor unit forward. Do we want to do that? Do we want to move that armor unit forward or not? Yeah, let's go ahead and move that armor unit forward. So we can move one more. Still have an armor unit up here, but we've already, I think we reached our limit up there. We could move this infantry down. Remember that the Germans still have to move their forces, or still can move their forces. I think I'm going to leave that in place. Yeah, I think that's all they want to move. All right, and so I don't think they created any new areas, any engagement areas. So now they can choose to continue these ongoing battles. They can declare those battles active. So let's do that. I'm going to put down another marker to show which ones they want to declare active. I think they want to declare them both active. So they want to do this one. And that's hard to see. So let's grab something else here. Well, let's just grab red dice. So we're going to grab, we want this one to be active and this one to be active. And we will now resolve those battles. Let me go ahead and remove this card since we have spent it. I'll put that back in the discard pile. So we're going to start up here. And I need to look to see what technologies might come into play here. So this all is actually taking place in the Baltic states, even though this massive unit extends beyond that. And the Germans certainly would have loved to have reinforced that, but they did not get the opportunity, and that's where these command priority values are important, the fact that the Soviets were able to go first there. So we look at our, well, like I said, I want to see what other technologies are going to come into play here. So there's heavy bombers, Air Forces move 3. No, air defense radar. Air Forces in friendly territory fire 2A3. Well, this is friendly territory. Doesn't say home area, so that's telling me that the Air Force will get to fire twice. The Germans, they have air defense radar also, but that's not going to apply here since that's not a friendly area for them. And they do have tanks, heavy tanks and rocket artillery, so their tanks and infantry can fire first. Remember, there's no surprise here. That's going to be it for the Germans. I'm looking at the first fire information here for they have precision bomb sight. That's not going to do them any good. And I think that's it. There's just really the only thing that's going to do me any good here is the air defense radar. So no fortresses. The next unit is the Air Force. It does have the what did I say? The air defense radar is what I'm trying to say. The 2A3. So it's going to roll 2 dice. So we're going to give them 2d6. They will hit. So an Air Force, they're going to choose who they're firing at here. They're going to fire at infantry. So Air Force firing at infantry has to hit, or ground unit, I should say, is 1. So they're going to have to look, they're trying to get 1s. That's going to suck for them. But they do get to fire twice. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll 4 dice. It's going to be the same thing. Basically, it's just going to double their potential here for hitting. But they are looking for a 1 to hit. So they got to get a 1 to hit, and they can hit any of the ground units in there. So they're going to fire. And that is a complete miss on the ground units. And actually, hold on a second here, because and so now, okay, I'm confusing myself here. So let's get this off too, by the way. So the Air Force got to go first because it is the unit that's at the top of this combat chart. This also determines your fire order for the unit. So we didn't really do that wrong. So the Air Force would get to fire, and then there's no German Air Force. So what you do now is you go down to what would be the next unit to fire. This case would be a carrier, but there's no carriers, no sub, no fleet. So tanks will be the next units to fire. So there are 2 tank units down here, and the heavy tanks for the Germans have first fire. No heavy tanks for the Russians. So it will be the German tank unit will now be the next unit to fire. It's going to target the ground units. So it has 2. We're going to grab 2d6 for the Germans. Let's just use the red ones again. So we're going to grab two, well, let's use the blue ones. We're going to grab 2d6 for the Germans. Yeah, one for each pip. They do get to fire first, and they are looking for, so a tank firing at a ground unit, it's got to get a 1 or a 2 to hit. They're targeting ground units. They get to fire first. 1 or 2. So that is 1 hit. And that will come off the strongest ground unit, which in this case is this 3 infantry. So that's going to get reduced to 2. And now the Soviet armored unit will get to fire. And we will roll 1d6 for the 1 pip. And again, it is going to be attacking ground units. So we're looking for a 1 or 2 to hit. Now that's a 2, so that's a hit. And that's going to come off of the infantry unit. The size 3 infantry unit is now reduced to size 2. And then we look at our next type of unit that can fire. It's going to be infantry. Again, the Germans have, infantry has rocket artillery. That's going to give them first fire. The Soviets do not. So the Germans will get to fire first here. They have 4 pips, so that's 4 units worth of, or 4d6, I should say, that are going to be firing. And again, infantry looking to hit ground does so on a 3 or more. So the Germans will fire 4 dice looking for 3 or more. And ooh, there's 3 hits. Yikes. So 3 hits come off of the Soviet ground units, starting with these 2 highest ones. So they're going to come down to 1 each. And that will leave 1 remaining hit. So we're just going to remove a German ground unit. I'm sorry, a Soviet ground unit. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Mixing up the Soviets and the Germans. Now we go back to the Soviets. They have 2 infantry units remaining, so they can fire, we'll grab 2d6, because they only have 1 pip each, and they are looking for 3 or less to hit, so let's roll. That is a complete miss for the Soviets. And now everyone has gone, and we will put the ongoing battle marker back on top of that, because remember, everybody gets to fire once, and there's only 1 round of land combat, so nothing was resolved there. And now we're going to come down here and resolve this battle, or at least go through another round of this battle. I don't know that it'll get resolved this turn. We'll see. So again, we're starting with there's no fortress. There's the Air Force unit. And this time it has 3 pips, so that will give them 3d6. They choose a target. In this case, they can only choose ground units because there's only 3 infantry in there. And again, this is an Air Force that's in friendly territory, so they will get to fire twice here. And I can't remember now if I had the other Air Force. Did I have it fire twice? I think I did, yeah, because I rolled 4 dice at once. So we might as well do that here as well. We might as well roll 6 dice. Because remember, it's 2A3, so that's 2 attacks, and the Air Force unit attacking ground units is looking for a 1. We have 3 pips, so it's going to be 6 total. Firing at ground units looking for a 1. And there are, 3 1s in there. So 3 1s, that's 3 hits on the ground unit, so that will reduce 1 of these infantry down to 1. Those other 2 hits will remove 2 of these German infantry units. We might see this battle get resolved after all. All right, so the Air Force fired, and now continuing down, the next thing to fire would be tanks. There is a Soviet tank there, so the Soviet tank is going to get to fire 1 of its D6s. It's going to target ground, because that's really the only thing left. And it is looking, so a tank is looking for a 1 or 2 to hit a ground unit, so the tank is going to fire. And that's it. It rolled a 1. So this German infantry is eliminated. So let's go ahead and reposition these. So they stopped the Germans cold in Kiev there. So that was the Russian action card. All that was just the Russian action card. Now the next, let's see. The next command priority would be now the H for the west and then I for the Germans. So we'll go to the west next. They can move 6 units. And let's see what they want to do. They are just going to move 2 infantry units into Afghanistan. We'll have our fortress in Delhi and an air unit in Bombay. I don't believe they want to move anything else at this time. So that's going to be their spring card. And now we will go to the Germans finally, because they have the final spring card out. So first we look at where they want to move their units to. So let's see, they are going to move infantry unit 1, 2. So 1 and then 2. They are going to move this infantry unit. Is going to go, the infantry can move 2. Strategic movement, though, they can move further. And the strategic movement, I believe that's right. Let me look that up real quick. Yeah, so as long as they're moving in friendly territory, it's double their movement. So let's see, this infantry unit could go 1, 2, 3. You could bring him in there to reinforce. I also want to mark what's already moved. This guy moved. I'm going to bring the counter back out as we get to move 6. So now we're down to 5. We are going to bring in this size 2 Air Force. Is going to go into 1, 2, 3. He's going to come into here. We have the size 3 infantry unit, which is going to go, there's a border there, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3. So he can either go here or here. He's going to come out, go into here. And I'm not going to bother with the counter because I think that's all they're going to move. I think they had points left over anyway. And so now the Germans, they have conducted their movement. Now they can choose to resolve combat. So no new areas were ignited, but they can certainly choose to continue this combat up here in the Baltic states, I should say. And looking in there, I think they want to do that. I think we're going to go ahead and conduct a round of combat in the Baltic states. So again, we go back to our combat chart and looking, there's no fortresses. So the Air Force goes first. We have I think it's just the air defense radar in this case. So the defender would fire first, except the air defense radar will come into play because the Soviets still have air defense radar in their friendly region. All right, so the defenders are going to fire first. That means the Soviets have 2 pips for that air unit, and they're going to get to roll 2. So again, just to make it simpler, I'm just going to roll 4 dice at once. And they are firing, you have air firing against air, so it's a 3 or less, and this is going to be brutal. That air defense radar is really powerful. And so that is 3 hits, which is going to eliminate that Air Force. So this is gone. And now, let's see, now we go to now the Soviet air unit can fire back. Well, I'm sorry, no, it doesn't fire back. It did conduct its fire. It got to fire first was the thing that happened there. And the German air unit never got to fire at all. So now the next thing on the list would be tanks. There is a German tank, and the Germans will get to fire first this time because they have the heavy tank technology giving them first fire. So let's get 2 dice out for each of the CV points they have there. They have 2. So tank, they are going to target ground forces. They're looking for 1 or 2 to hit. And here they go. Let's see what they get. That is a complete miss. And now the Soviet tank can fire. It's going to fire 1d6 and is looking for a 1 or 2 to hit. Again, firing at ground units. And that is a complete miss. So now the tanks have fired, and then the next thing on the list, infantry. German infantry will get to fire first because they have rocket artillery. So they will roll 4 Let's see, I was using blue for the Germans. They will roll 4d6 against, looking for 3 or less to hit ground units. They're firing at ground units. And that is horrible. All 4 of those missed, unfortunately for the Germans. So now these 2 infantry units for the Soviets will fire. And again, they're looking for 1, 2, or 3 to hit. And that looks like 2 hits. Germans are taking a pounding. So 2 hits. The Germans will take it off of this infantry, and they'll take it off the armored unit. And that will end a round of combat as all of the units in there have fired. And that will also end combat totally in that region. So the Baltic states, well, not totally, it'll end the current round, I guess. Like I said, all units have fired, so we're going to put this back on top, showing that that is in fact an ongoing battle. So there's no other battles to conduct here, and that will be it for the German spring phase card. So let's get that out of here. And now we are back to the Germans. Let's see if we have to advance now to the summer. Let's do that. So let's advance the phase season marker to the summer. This is where supply checks would come in, and everything is still in supply, so no big deal there. And let's see if the Germans want to play a summer card. So the Germans are going to play a summer card, P10. They're hoping they can go before the Soviets, I suspect. We will now go to the Soviets. Do they want to play a card in the summer? They do. And unfortunately for the Germans, it's got a B on it. And then to the West is going to pass. All right, so we look at who has the lower number. Well, we said the Soviets had a B. That's lower than the P for the Germans, so the Soviets will get to go first here in the summer. And the first thing we do is conduct movement. So they have 6 they can move. And I'm going to pull my little counter out again. Got 6 on it so that I know I have 6. So they're going to move. This unit is going to go 1, 2 into here. And this unit's going to follow it. And crowded in here. Let me move these 2 down. Now they're moving into there, and I'm going to put down one of these to show that this must be resolved. And then they're going to move. All 3 of these units are going to come forward into here. That's going to be 1, 2, 3. Actually, they're going to leave that Air Force unit back. And they're going to hold these units back too for now. I think that's going to be it. Didn't use my counter at all, but I think that's going to be it as far as the movement goes for the Soviets, which means they will now conduct combat. So let's go ahead and remove the spring card for the Soviets. And I probably should have put this to show that it's the Soviets' turn. And they have to resolve the combat in here first. All right, so they've moved into Poland in 2 places. There's one area. Make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, so they're coming into there. Let's go back now to combat. The armor, the tanks are going to have the first. And unfortunately, for the Soviets, unfortunately, that is the German tanks will get to fire first because they have heavy tanks. And so let's get 3 dice out for the Germans. So they're going to fire 3d6 worth of firepower, and they are looking to get a 1 or a 2 to hit ground units. So that is, well, the Germans are just whiffing here. That is nothing, no hit. So now the Soviets get to fire. They also have 3 pips on their CV unit there, their armor units. So they're firing back. The same thing, they are looking for 1 or 2s to hit, firing at ground units, and now that's 2 hits. Okay, so 2 hits on the Germans. They're even, so the German's going to take just 1 off of each. So that was the tank units that fired, and now we go to the next units. It's going to be infantry. Again, the Germans get to fire first here. They have 2 pips for their infantry unit, firing at ground, looking for a 1, 2, or 3 to hit. 5 and 6 is a complete miss. Now the Germans have, the Russians have 3 on their infantry unit, so it's going to fire back. Looking for, what did I say, 1, 2, or 3 to hit? 1, 2, or 3. So that is 1 hit. And the Germans will take that off of their infantry unit. I mean, their armored unit. So all units have fired in there. Let's put a ongoing battle marker there. There are no more battles to, well, no, we have this battle to resolve down here. So let's do that. The Russian armor will get to fire first. So it's armor firing at a ground unit, looking for a 1 or 2 to hit, firing at ground units. That is a hit, taking this infantry down to 2. Now we go to infantry, so the German infantry gets to fire. It's going to fire 2d6 at the ground units, looking for 3 or less to hit. That looks like, finally, they got 2 hits. So 1 will come off of this infantry unit, and then 1 will come off of this infantry unit. That was good for the Germans. Now the Soviets will fire back. They get 2d6, looking for 3 or less to hit. That's 1 hit, so 1 hit will come off of this German infantry. We will put another marker out to show there's an ongoing battle there. The Eastern Front has exploded, and not in a good way for the Germans. And now the Germans are the only ones with a summer card out remaining, so the turn goes to them. They may now move up to 10 units. I'm going to grab the counter again. I may not use it, but I'm going to grab it. So they have 10 units they may move. And what do they want to do here? They're in trouble, I think. First thing they want to do is bring this air unit is going to come into here. Let's bring it into here. Actually, no, I do want to bring it down here. So I can bring this air unit down to there. So now we're down to 9. So this air unit has moved. And then they are going to bring this infantry is going to go 1, 2. So we're going to bring an infantry forward here. So now we're down to 8. Looking pretty thin over here in Germany, but they've got to do this because they're not in good shape on the Eastern Front. We've got a 1 armor and a 2 armor. 2 armor can go up to 3. 1, 2, 3. So what we may want to do is this one can go 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. I think they might want to bring this armor 1. Let's see, 1, 2. So we're going to bring this armored unit into this battle. And I'm running out of room, so let's slide this over a little bit. Armor is now in there. And I think when I moved that, I flipped it. That's not a size 2, that's a size 1. So this one came from over here. Pretty sure that was a size 1 armor unit. Still have 8 that we can move. And I'm going to bring this infantry unit into this battle. And then, let's see, got to be careful here because these are all part of the same battle up here. Now I'm going to bring, so this, pick these Italians in here, I think. So they can go 1, 2, 3. Actually, 1, 2, 3. So this Italian armor is going to come up here. The Italians coming up to save the Germans. And this infantry. Let's see. What I might do is move an Air Force out of down here. 1, 2, 3. Air Force can move 2, 4 if I do strategic, and that would be strategic. It's all friendly, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think, yeah, they're going to bring this Air Force up. Now down to 5. I think that's it. I think that's all they're going to move here. So let's get this stuff out of the way. That was the final summer card that was out. Get the blue markers off too. If I can do it without destroying the board. It's a little hard to maneuver with these blocks in such tight spaces. I guess that's my one complaint for the game so far. It'd be nice if the map were larger to accommodate these blocks. All right, so no new active battles. They simply reinforced existing battles, and I think the Germans are going to, they're just going to activate all 3 again. And we will start at the top. And I'm just going to set this off to the side in case it continues. So now we are in the Baltic states against the Air Force will get to fire first. Still, it's got the air defense radar, which is very powerful, as we've learned. So we're going to pull 2 dice for the Soviets because they will get to fire first here, and 2 more because it's air defense. So that's a total of 4. And they will target ground units because that's all that's in there. So they are looking for. Got to get a 1 to hit a ground unit. And there's 1 1 in there. So they do manage to hit a ground unit. There's 1 size 2 infantry in there. So that's going to go down to a size 1 infantry now. All right, so air units have fired. And then we go down to tanks. There is a German tank. They do have heavy tanks, so they'll get to fire first. So we have tank firing at a ground unit. It's got to get a 1 or a 2. Firing at ground units. Complete miss. We're getting used to seeing that from the Germans. The Soviets have a tank, and they're going to be firing back at ground units, looking for a 1 or 2. They miss. So that's the armored units. Now we go to the infantry. Germans have rocket artillery. They'll get to fire first. They have 1, 2, 3. 3d6 worth of infantry that they'll be firing, looking for 3s or less to hit ground units. And that's 1 hit. So the Soviets will take that off of, well, they've got to lose a unit here, so they're going to just take away an infantry unit. Surviving infantry will get to fire back, so there's only 1 of those, looking for a 3 or less to hit. That's a 5, so that's a miss. That is 1 complete round of combat in the Baltic states. We'll put this back on. Continuing to the next battle. We'll leave that aside here too. This is in Poland. We're looking at, so now the Germans have air. This is in Poland, which is considered friendly territory because remember they did flip Poland to their side. So now they're going to get to have their air defense radar come into play. Now they're firing. They've got 1 fighter in there, so we're going to give them 1d6 for that, but they do get to fire 2d6 because of the air defense radar. They are going to target ground units, looking for 1s to hit. That's a miss. Next up would be armor. So they have 2 armored units in there. And they do get to fire first because they have heavy tanks. So 2d6, 1 for each point of armor. Looking for 1s or 2s or firing at ground units. That is a complete miss. Now the Soviets get to return fire. And they have 3 pips worth of d6 to throw here. So they're looking for 1s or 2s. That's 2 hits. Oh my goodness. So 2 hits have to come off of the Germans. So they're going to rotate this infantry 1, and they're just going to eliminate one of the armored units. And then where are we at here? Now we are at infantry. That's where we're at. So we have to start with the Germans again because they have rocket artillery. So they'll get to fire 1d6 looking for 1, 2, or 3. That's a 5, so that's a miss. And then the Germans fire back. They have, again, 3. 3d6 they're going to throw looking for 1, 2, or 3. So that's 3 hits on the ground units for the Germans. That's going to eliminate all of those German units there. So that's going to take these 2 German units out. That is going to end this battle. But what that means is this air unit has no ground support units in there. So it's got to retreat. So it's just going to come back into here. So these 2 units are now in Poland. We won't put a marker down though, because remember that the Germans still have control of Poland. They just do not have control of Vilna here. So, but the Soviets do. Now we come down to here, the final battle that needs to be resolved. Begin, there's no air there, so we're going to start with armored units first. The Germans have no armor in there, but the Soviets do. So they're going to be rolling 1d6, and they're looking for a 1 or 2 to hit, so they fire. That's a miss. And the next thing is infantry, so the Germans will get to fire first here. 3 dice, looking for 1, 2, or 3 to hit. Is 2 hits? Yeah, that's 2 hits. The Soviets will eliminate this armor and this infantry unit. Now the remaining the lone Soviet infantry unit will fire back with 1d6, looking for 1, 2, or 3. That's a 4. That is a miss. And that will leave this battle still going. And as a reminder, let me pull this off for a second. As a reminder, instead of firing back at the Germans, I could have chosen to retreat that infantry unit. So instead of firing, you can retreat. But I chose not to do that there. All right, so that is going to end the summer phase. So we're going to check now for supply again, and we'll also have to check for blockading, but that's not going to be a problem. So that's going to move us into the fall. We still have ongoing battles here, so we go back now to the Germans, and do they want to play a fall card? And I think, yeah, they are going to want to play a fall card, so we're going to put that out. Okay, and now does the Soviets want to play a fall card? Do they even have a fall card to play? They do. Let's see, would they want to keep this card? Do they even want to play this card here? Yeah, why not? So they're going to play their fall card, and I don't think the West. Now the West is just going to pass here again, so we will resolve the fall cards, and we're going to start with the Soviets since they have a K versus a P, so they get to go first. And why is there a fleet way up here in the Soviet Union? I've got to resolve that. I'm not sure where that went exactly. I'm going to have to, I will look that up and put it back on the board after I stopped the video. I'm not sure where that went. So we'll just set this aside now. We'll put it over here by the cards. We will start with the Soviets, and they can move 7. I don't think I need to track it with a counter here. I don't think there's that much to move. Although, yeah, I guess I better, just in case here. Let's see. Let's put this on 7. So the Soviets are moving. They are going to move this infantry unit is going to come into this battle. So that's 1. This armored unit could go into here. Could also come down here. We have these units down here. There is a river there, so only 2 of these could get up into here. So I'm going to bring these 2 up. I'm going to bring those 2 up to join that battle. So that's going to take this down to 4. And you know what? I think they are just going to move this armored division forward into German territory, no less. So that's going to take them down to 3. So these are all engaged down here, and I think we are going to move this air unit in here too. This air unit will join this battle. That's a size 3 air unit. So that's all they're going to move. So that is movement for the Soviets. We initiated a battle here, so we have to resolve that. Let's resolve it first. I'm going to get this card off again because we are, oops, that goes over here. We are done with movement. Now we just go into combat. So let's start here. We have an air unit for the Germans. It is first fire rocket artillery, and that doesn't matter. What am I saying? It's air defense I'm looking at, so it's going to be 2A3 for this air unit. So it's going to throw 1d6 plus another one because of the air defense radar, and it is going to fire at ground units looking for 1. This only a 1 will hit here, so that's a miss. And then next would be the armor. So the German armor will fire first because it has heavy tanks. Germans are firing, looking for a 1 or 2. What is that? I can't see it. That's a 5, so that's a miss. And now the Soviet armor is a size 3, so it's going to roll 3d6, looking for 1 or 2 against the ground units, and there's a 1, so that will eliminate this armored unit. And then the air unit has to retreat now. So it is going to retreat into Warsaw. Yikes for the Germans as the Soviets march through. And so now we go up to here. The Germans do want to activate that ongoing battle. And I think their intent was to activate them. No, actually, no. I don't think they wanted to activate this one. I think they just want to activate this battle. And so actually, what am I saying? It's the Soviets are the ones that are going here. So the Soviets initiated that, and the Soviets certainly want to continue this battle. So let's take this off for now. And the Soviets, let's start again up here. We have the Air Force will go first, and they are in the Baltic states, which is friendly Soviet territory. So they will get the 4 dice again, and they are targeting ground units looking for 1s to hit. So a 1 will hit. There's 2 1s. Oh my gosh. So 2 hits need to be applied to the Germans. And again, I'm going to say this air defense radar is just brutal. So the Germans will take it off of, I guess they're just going to lose 2 infantry units. I say just, but that is brutal. And so that was our Air Force went, and now tanks get to go. The Germans have first fire again, so they're going to roll 1d6, looking for a 1 or 2 to hit ground units. That is a miss. The Soviets have a tank looking for 1 or 2 to hit ground units. That is a miss. And now the Germans will fire infantry. They have 1d6 looking for 3 or less to hit. That is a miss. And so now the Germans have 1, 2, 3, 4 d6 worth of infantry. Strength points, that is, and they're looking for 3 or less to hit. And that's a bad roll, so they did manage 1 hit, though. Let's see, the Germans are going to remove the infantry. I'm sorry, the armor. That armor comes out. And that means that this battle is still ongoing up here. Okay, so now that is, well, no, wait, we got down here. So the Soviets definitely want to continue that, because things are not looking good for the Germans at all. So the Soviets now, they are not in friendly territory, but they still can roll 3d6 for this air unit, looking for 1s to hit, firing at ground units. Complete miss. The next thing up will be the Soviet armor. There's 3 of those. Looking for ones or twos now. God, that is 3 hits, which is enough to eliminate every German unit in there. So these 2 German units come out. I don't know if there's capitulation in this game or not, but there sounds like there should be. So that pretty much wipes out that battle. And the Germans are just being steamrolled here. So that's going to end the Soviet fall card. And now we go to the German fall card. And what in the world do they want to do? So let me get that marker, counter, ticker, whatever you call it, back out, because we do have 6 units we can move for the Germans. All right, so let's start. And the first thing they want to do is disengage up here. Now they have to disengage into an adjacent friendly territory. So fortunately for them, Vilna here is vacated, so they can move back into there. And that will mean there's no more battle here. So we'll move that as well. And I'll just kind of resort these counters so we can see them better. So that's one movement, one disengage there, and now they are going to move. They're going to move. This infantry unit is going to go 1, 2. That's going to take us down to 3, or I'm sorry, 4, because we moved 2 units. They're going to move, let's see, this infantry is sitting up here. And go 1, 2, 3 with a strategic move. So then we're going to do that and bring him down here. So that's 3. And then we're going to move, looking down here, air units can move 2. So I think we're going to want to move this Italian air unit 1, 2. Down to 2. And we're going to move this Italian unit. Let's see, they're going to move this Italian unit. It can go a strategic move of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to move it all the way up there. And that will leave 1. And we're going to bring this armor unit into Czechoslovakia. That is going to be it for movement for the Germans. So they did not initiate any battles there, I don't think. Let me look. No, this one was the one that retreated. We have Italians all the way up here in Warsaw now. And that is it for the fall phase, is what I'm trying to say here. So we go into winter phase, and I believe the Soviets are going to pass here. They have nothing in their territory at this point anyway, really. So they will pass there, and that will take us to the end of this turn. And my God, the things that happen. So let's go ahead and put our phase marker back. New year. I will move the year marker up to 1943. And so we saw the Soviets push forward. They have crushed the Germans. And so now the West still has a decision to make. They could attack the Germans now from the other side, and that could be a likely thing to do for them. I don't know. It's going to depend really on their next card draw, I think. And I don't know, victory point wise, economic victory point wise, I think that may be worth doing, because that would also, we got to watch the Soviets too, because if the Soviets grab Berlin, that's going to be really bad. Things are really getting intriguing. We got a summer vacation coming up here, so I don't know how soon we'll be able to get to the next turn. Hopefully by the end of next month anyway, but I do have some other stuff coming up, so look for that. And we will come back to this and definitely finish it out. We've only got 3 more turns to go, and we're almost there. So we'll go ahead and finish this out and then get something new to the table. And I've got a ton of stuff that I'm ready to try and get to. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That's really important. Subscribe to the channel if you have not. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you back here next time.